Hey guys, this is the Fort Worth Glock Guy, and what you see before you is a Brous Bionic. And this, as you can see, is that nice green, one of my favorite colors. Actually, all of the colors in this series are very cool, very vibrant. The orange really caught my eye as well. The green just came available at the right time. So I decided to make a trade and pick it up. So I just got this in the mail yesterday. And so this is kind of my first impressions of this particular knife. And I will do a second look a little bit later once I get a little bit more use out of it. Give you an idea of performance and how it holds up. So anyways, I've watched a lot of videos on this particular knife, and for whatever reason, it seems to be one of those you either love it or hate it knives, which I don't really understand because I love this knife. There are some things about it that I think people complain about, and I don't know if they're just being really picky about things. Or what. There are some things that I do think aren't my favorite about this, but overall I think this is a very highly rated knife. I really do like it. As you can see, the machining on it is really cool. Kind of has that reptilian look, especially in the green. In other colors I think it is more bionic, but in this particular color, I do think it kind of gives that reptilian kind of look to it. It is a flow-through design, as you can see. A couple of back spacers here, and as you can see, the liners kind of come out to the edge on the back side. So pocket clip, very minimal, very nice and thin. And it's held on by one little screw, and it is kind of milled into the liner or the scale itself, so it's not going to like rock back and forth. So it is in there very securely. Kind of give you a little look at it. There's the pivot, and the other side. Just a really nice looking knife. The attention to detail. The pocket clip is reversible, and that little area where the pocket clip sits in, this has a little filler. So if I remove this screw, this little spacer will come out, and I can drop that on that pocket clip in on this side. If that spacer wasn't there, there'd be a little indention in there, which for people like me that would bug me, but that little spacer, that little filler, really makes it look nice because it's nice and flush, nice and flat. So very cool. So one of the complaints about this knife is this flipper, and I do have to agree, it is rather sharp. The first time that I used it, it does take some getting used to because it is so pointy. So that is one thing that I do agree with a lot of people. If you're doing the pressure to make the blade come out, it does kind of dig into your skin. You can see right there, it's kind of been eating away at me a little bit. So that is one thing that a lot of people complain about, and I do tend to agree a little bit with that. It is very pointy. It does kind of protrude out quite a bit. So if this was a little bit more rounded, I think this would actually be one of my favorite little EDC knives. But it does work, and you're not going to be, unless you're just, I guess some of us do, you're just constantly like playing with stuff and flicking your knives, that it would kind of get into your skin a little bit. if you're just playing around with it a lot. But if you're using it just, pulling it out of your pocket one time, doing that, it's really not that big of a deal. It only becomes a big deal if you're constantly flicking, all day, just flicking, closing, flicking, closing, flick. That does kind of eat into your finger quite a bit, and I can see where that does it. It can become uncomfortable. One of the other things that people complain about is the jimping on the top side, specifically this last little bump here. And what people complain about it is that it is more pointy or jagged than the rest of these. And I can kind of feel that, but it doesn't bother me. Like if I'm just holding it like this and using the jimping for its intended purpose, it doesn't bother me at all. Like I don't even notice that little extra bump on that last one. You can kind of hear it. It does grip a little bit more, but that's where the pad of my thumb rests anyways, and I don't really even notice it. Some people were complaining that when they flick it, they're dragging their finger across all the jimping and it grabs onto there and it hurts their finger. With my experience with this, and again, I'm not doing the light switch where I'm dragging it across like this, because I don't do it that way. When I do the push button method and do it that way, my finger lands back here. Like it doesn't even catch on the jimping. So if I'm just doing the push button method, see if I can do this on camera. Like my finger lands back behind where that jimping even starts or stops. So I don't know, if you're doing the flipper method that way, I mean, you can see that it's landing like way back behind where all the jimping is. So I don't know, maybe I'm doing it differently than other people, but every single time my finger lands way behind where the jimping is. So for me, if you're doing the push button method, yes, it does dig in right here. But once you overcome the detent and you pull it back here, like my finger's landing back behind where that little edge is. So I really don't understand, that portion of, people complaining. People are also complaining about the jimping on the liner here, because it does stick out a little bit. You can see it kind of sticks out there. But again, maybe it's just because I've got extra padding here. That really doesn't bother me. I mean, it just sits kind of right in this little groove right here, and it doesn't really bother me. Like I don't really notice a hot spot. And a lot of people complain about that, and I don't know if they're just being ultra picky about it, but I think it's very functional, and I think it serves a purpose, and I think it works great. As far as the blade goes, I know they come in satin. This appears to be some kind of a stone wash, and I'm not sure if it came from Jason this way, or if someone did this aftermarket, but I think it looks great. Whoever did it, I think did a great job. And it looks really consistent and even all the way through. The blade shape itself, I really kind of like. I don't have another blade that's like this. It's a drop point or modified, I don't know, what would you call that? Warncliffe? I don't know. The edge is pretty flat with a very, very small belly here. Not very much, but I kind of like that. And what's kind of cool about this knife too is if you're holding it flat against here, the handle sticks up. So if I were cutting something, then my fingers wouldn't really get in the way. A lot of other knives, like I'm gonna A lot of other knives are like that. So the blade is kind of in line with the handle. This one, the handle is up and out of the way. So you kind of see it sits higher, and your fingers are in line with the blade. So I found that actually kind of a cool little feature that's different than a lot of other knives. So anyways, just wanted to kind of give you a glance at this and give you my opinions on this knife. Really the only thing that is a little bit you know, if I knocked it on something, it would be how pointy this is. And I may round this out a little bit, or I might send it in to Jason and get it done. Maybe have him round it out. But really, that's the only thing that I would kind of knock this thing on. The pivot itself, I mean, this thing is extremely smooth. I really, like I said, I don't have another blade like this. I don't have another blade that is on, I think, a bearing system. And this thing is just as smooth as can be all the way out, all the way in and all the way out. There's not a part where it catches and it's kind of gritty. I mean, it's just smooth all the way in and all the way out. And, you know, if I close it, you know, I can just kind of shake it closed and it'll hit a detent and then kind of suck it in. It's really, really cool. And then once again, there it is. Very cool. I'm really enjoying this knife right now. Like I said, I may come back and do a second look at this a little bit later when I get some more time with it. I don't know how the cutting surface will, or the blade will hold up over time. I've been told that D2 tool steel is very strong. In fact, I can do a little cut test. I've got some paper here. So here's phone book paper. Let's see if I can do this in frame here. So very sharp. I can cut through stuff, no problems. I can't do this on camera, but it is extremely sharp. So printer paper on camera. Dang it. And it leaves a very clean edge there. Again, I can't do this on camera, just reaching around the tripod here. Here is some just very thin mini muffins cardboard, and this thing just cuts no problem through cardboard. And how about some Pampers cardboard? And this is actually pretty thick cardboard. I don't know how well you can tell, but we will slice through that, and again, no problem whatsoever, and it's an extremely clean cut all the way through. No tearing, no nothing. So I think this blade steel is actually going to be very strong and hold very well. So there it is. There is the Brous Bionic. If you guys have any questions, if you're interested in a follow-up video a little bit later, let me know and I'll give you an update. So anyways, thanks for watching. Fort Worth Glock Guy, out. Alright, well, I just got done using the Bionic to cut all these cardboard boxes up, and no problems whatsoever. And you can see that these cut lines are extremely clean, no fraying. I mean, that's a pretty clean cut right there. And just wanted to give a better angle on cutting some phone book paper and some printer paper right after cutting the box and see if I can do a little bit better cut test than I did behind the camera. So let's see how this works. No problem, and still clean too. All right, so even after cutting some pretty thick cardboard, no problems cutting phone book paper very cleanly. And here is some printer paper, just standard size. If I can hold it correctly. So again, no problem whatsoever. Extremely clean. Just zips right through it. And all these are very clean cuts. I don't know if that'll show up or not, but very clean cuts. So I just wanted to give it a fair shot since I didn't do a good job at it before. This is a great little knife. No problems whatsoever. Like I said, the only thing that I would want to improve on this is maybe this little flipper, kind of flatten it out a little bit. But what I've learned to do is if you give it a little bit of a wrist flick as you're flipping at the same time, it takes a little bit of pressure off your finger, and it still makes it really quick to deploy. And I think that kind of solves the problem a little bit. I still think I want to, you can see a little dot right there. I still think I want to kind of smooth this out a little bit, maybe flatten it. But again, you know, put some pressure on here and kind of give it a little flick as you're flicking or as you're pushing. And I think that kind of relieves a little bit of pressure off your finger to do all the work. Nice. So cut myself on camera. So anyways, there you go. This is still a factory edge. I have not done any sharpening or honing or stropping or anything on it. You can still see that there's factory grinds there. So this is still from the factory. Razor sharp. So I definitely have to give this an A+. Not a 100, but an A+ for sure. This is going to be a fun little knife to play with. So anyways, hope that helps. Yeah. Once again, thanks for watching. 4th Clock Guy. Out.